So, is it any better? That's the question. I am saying something now. Can you hear me? Is it better? I have tinkered with it as much as I am capable with. The picture is not very good at all in the sense of it's totally choppy, which is ridiculous considering that it's half the size that it was. And it's still dropping frames like crazy. Same as before. Drat and damn. All right, so first announcement for those of you who can hear me. Next week, we will be meeting on either Facebook Live, or not Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or on Zoom. I'm getting a bunch more messages here. So, here's what's going to happen. Those of you who want to be in the live chat next week are going to send me a message saying, I want to be in the live chat next week, and give me an email address, and I will send you a link to where it's going to be at. It's going to be hidden from the public, just because it's the first time I do this. I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. I may have to get Kyle and I to have a two-person experiment to make sure that I know what the heck I'm doing. But it's gotten to the point where Facebook just gets worse and worse. And I don't have this trouble with, this is even worse than Skype for me. So that's where we're at. And I'm not sure what to do at this point with the talk tonight, because it's kind of frustrating. Yeah, Dave and I had a great talk on Zoom the other day. I mean, we're talking literally halfway around the world with no problems whatsoever. So that may be the way to go. So, show of hands. Who wants some sort of talk tonight, or is it so bad that you can't stand listening to it much more, or watching the frame jump around in ways that are very irritating? Dang. Very, very frustrating. I'm going to try one more thing. So here's the question. Did that do anything different? Can you hear me better now? I don't know what to tell you. I think, yeah, I just bumped up the throughput by 2,000 extra bits, and even that's not doing it. Um, I've checked my speed on my internet connection, and that's not a problem. Um, my thought is this. I actually want a decent recording of this. So I think I'm going to call the evening, and we will address this again next week and see if I can actually um, do the topic in a way that works. Between now and then, though, if you all can bear with this, let's just make this a question and answer period for anybody who has any questions on material discussed so far. So I'm going to open it up and see if we can get something going, but I want a good recording of my thoughts on wellness or on wholeness, because it came to me that this is a very important subject, and I don't want it to sound like a terrible recording for people who are going to be listening in later. So, topic has changed. I have a lot of messages coming in. Yeah, I'm getting some concurrence from people that Nick is asking, whose philosophy of wholeness are you building on? I'm building on my philosophy of wholeness. This is not something that I am getting from anybody else. It is my own observations on the subject, and my take is that wholeness, as it is being used, by and large, is nothing more than a buzzword. And I believe that it's an important concept, but I think that we need to reframe it into something that we can actually use to work with, that we can actually have some meaning to. I also want to talk about the new class coming up. I'm thinking that, hang on for a second here, and I pull up my calendar. And I am looking at October. That's December. No, or I'm looking at November. And I'm thinking of starting it on November the 10th, which is a Saturday at 7 p.m. If that sounds like it might be a good time. And this is going to be specifically a 6-week seminar that will almost undoubtedly be done on Zoom, so that we can actually have everybody use their voice. That was just Vince going by. And I will tell you that there are some books that you can get, and you don't even have to pay for them. One of the books that we are going to be working through to understand how the law of three and the six laws express themselves in the universe will be a book written by Ibn al-Arabi. And I'm looking up the name of it here real quick because where are we here? There is an English translation of the book called Journey to the Lord of Power. And you can, if you look up the Internet Archive, and if you don't know the Internet Archive, you should, because you can get thousands of free books that are in the public domain or have been licensed to the archive. And yeah, the actual name of the book is Treatise on the Lights in the Secrets Granted One Who Undertakes Retreat. That's how it translates from the Arabic. And it is one of the very few of the classical texts that addresses this issue. The other is usually referred to as the Walled Garden of Truth by Hakim Sinai. So both of these books are available for free download from the Internet Archive in a number of different formats, whichever ones you like the best. And if you want to participate in the webinar, then I encourage you to grab them and as best you can wade through it. It's pretty deep reading. So, Journey to the Lord of Power is the English title of the book, and The Walled Garden of Truth is the other book. Both of those can be found, and I'll probably put up links on the page within the next 24 hours so that people can get it. There's a couple of different versions of The Walled Garden of Truth, and I got to look at them to figure out which one is the best translation that we can get for free. What do we have here? Nick, I will try and post the address, but trust me, if you just do a Google search for Internet Archive, you'll find it. You run a search on the archive for the title of the book, you'll find that. Dave is asking what books by what translations of Arabic are worth reading, and the answer is they're all worth reading. Some are better than others. And Arabi is hard to read. He's very, very hard to read. And how can I describe him? Obtuse, flowery. Trying to think of another one of his books. I'll give you an example of reading Arabi. There is a book that he did that's the English title is He Who Knows His Lord, or yeah, He Who Knows His Lord, or He Who Knows Himself Knows His Lord. It's from a famous hadith of the Prophet. It's tiny. It's probably not more than 40 pages long, if that. And if you can get through and understand one page a day, you're doing really, really good. So, Arabi. Yeah, if you read Arabi, expect to get headaches. I didn't realize that I had many friends who were named Kyle. I have a couple friends named Kyle. There is only one Kyle. Trust me on this. If you look at the notes that are coming up, you will see Kyle Nure Sultan Finnerly. That's the Kyle. That is the Kyle. Except no substitute Kyles. The tech person is Kyle Nure. The headaches, Aaron asked if the headaches are due to translations, and the answer is no. The headaches are due to Arabi himself. As Mozart was to music, Arabi was to Sufis, which is to say he was a kind of a child prodigy. And how would you describe Arabi? He comes across as pompous and arrogant sometimes, frequently actually, when you read the way he writes. And yet, at the same time, there is this incredible rich genius to some of his thought. And that's one of the things that makes him a little hard to read. And I would say, there were definitely two sides to him: the human side and the saintly side, and both of them come out in turns. He's not as bad as Nietzsche, I have to say. I mean, my experience of reading Nietzsche is he occasionally says brilliant things, and most of the time he's just an ass. So when it comes to philosophers, I prefer Arabi to Nietzsche. And Journey to the Lord of Power, his book on retreat or solitude or taking a retreat is pretty profound. How would I describe other Sufi authors by comparison? Well, if you read, say, Rumi, not the poet, not the poetry, but his prose and instructional, it's much more allegorical and at the same time straightforward. He'll tell a story and then he'll explain the meaning, or he will give an illustration. If you look at, say, it's actually really hard to make comparisons because they are all so different. I just heard myself. I took a little listen on my tablet, and it sounds like I'm talking from the bottom of a fishbowl. I apologize for this. I would say that there are people who are much more straightforward, like Yunus Emre, for instance, the great Turkish poet. Rumi was not a Turkish poet. He lived in Turkey, but he never wrote in Turkish. He wrote in Persian, and he was a Persian. He came from Balkh, which is sort of in Afghanistan, or used to be before the Mongols got hold of it. And yeah, each of them is so different. It's hard to really say. If you ask me about a specific author, I can give you a specific opinion, but trying to make that comparison is, my brain isn't just not working with it. Averroes. I know him mostly from his medicine, as opposed to his Sufi thought. So, as a doctor, he was pretty straightforward and very logical and reasonable for the time. His models, of course, are medieval, literally. Trying to think of intelligent critiques of Sufi authors. Boy, I don't know how it's getting for you guys, but it's getting even worse here. Whatever's going on has slowed my computer way down. As a matter of fact, everything is locked up. It's a plot. Here's another question. Dave asks if there are any good texts by Hafiz in English, and the answer is not really. Ladinsky's work on Hafiz is not really Hafiz. It's Ladinsky channeling Hafiz is the best way to describe it, which is not to say that it isn't great poetry of its kind, but most of what you see there, you will not find in any volume of Hafiz anywhere in the original language. It's just kind of made up. That being said, there's some pretty good stuff. I'm just going to trust that you guys are still hearing and seeing me for the moment. I can see me on my tablet, but my computer screen is literally frozen right now, so who knows what's going on. Now I froze up. Yeah. I don't know how Facebook expects people to work like this. And if we can't work like this, they can't make their money off of us. So, thank you. I just got a note saying that I am still being heard and coming through. So I will continue on. I just got a notice that the page is unresponsive. I'm going to tell it to wait because otherwise it's going to shut everything down. Now, when it comes to Sufi texts, there are some modern ones. Yeah. The picture being weird colors is probably actually just me. This is what happens when I'm discombobulated like this because of the bad technology. There are a couple of good general texts on Sufism that can give you some background. And again, I just ran across, I was looking for these books on the Internet Archive, and I ran across a couple of others that I can recommend to you. And one is the Shambhala Guide to Sufism by Ernst, which you can find for free on the Internet Archive. And I think they have one copy that's lent and the other copy that you can download, so don't stop looking. And I would actually highly recommend that book. As an overview of Sufi thought, it ain't bad. And, onwards. All right. Any other questions? Because that's pretty much, I have run out of blathering time here. And like I said, send me a note via Facebook Messenger with an email address. Uh-oh. I think things have just crashed. Well, maybe the thing went completely blank. It says that I'm still live. So if you can hear this, then I'm still alive. And if you do hear this, then I'm going to sign off as soon as I tell you that the picture is back. I have no idea what these things are doing. Good. Thank you, Michael. So, a couple of things. First thing is the commercial. And I'm going to remind you all that the Ultimate Enneagram course is still out there. And you really, if you have not done the Enneagram course, or if you have and you realize that you really need to review it, I recommend that you download it. Michael, if you would be so kind as to type in the URL, because I can't make my keyboard work right now. Yeah, so check out this course. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. UltimateEnneagram.com. Go there, get the course, study it, especially if you want to review before we do the Law of Three and the Law of Six webinar, because it will all tie in. I've reached the maximum number of people that I can take on my special offer, and which is great for me, but it sucks for you if you wanted to be one of the people who was getting private consultations. But I will tell you that when I am done with this cycle of private consultations, because it is a terminated program, it was so successful, I will probably open it up again. So there. And then finally, on the 10th, we will be doing the webinar that will start covering the ins and outs of the 3 laws and the 6 laws. It will be material that, as far as I know, has not been ever discussed publicly. So, according to Nancy, she's never been able to get the sound on Zoom to work. I have no problem with that. What you might need to do is go into your settings and see what you have set up for speakers, speakers and microphone, because Zoom doesn't automatically default to whatever it is that you have set up at any given time. I had to reset it to get it to use the headset that I use and the microphone that I use. Laura asks, what is Zoom? It is something like Skype, only it is for video conferencing. And so you can get lots and lots of people on and lots of pictures, and it's all run through a server. So you are not limited by the speed of your computer. It has been, I've been using it now since Skype started getting weird, and have had really good success with it. You can use it off your phone, you can use it off your laptop, you can use it off your tablet, and you can use it off your desktop. You can use it from a web page, or you can download the little Zoom app onto your computer and use that, and you get a much better picture and sound when you do that. I like the idea of using that because it seems to handle multiple people being able to talk and ask questions. And Yeah, I also want to experiment with YouTube Live for these sorts of talks because uh, having everybody talk will be nice, but not necessarily worthwhile in comparison to just being able to get a good picture and sound for the lecture bits and reading your comments. And all of that can be done. We'll see who does it better. Next week will be on YouTube Live. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up and send you all off a little bit early tonight with my apologies for how wonky this has been. And we will catch you next week. So take care, and if I can get my computer to actually unlock long enough to disconnect this, I will be off. Otherwise, I'm going to have to crash restart my program. Come on, open.